Hello, chefs. This is Chef's PSA, and I'm your host, André Natera. Today, my guest is Chef Francis Pascal, chef and owner of Vendador, a high-end private dining company based out of Chicago. Today, we're going to talk about some advice for anyone wanting to get into the private dining business, the importance of making sure you have a contract, having a rhythm working with other chefs. If you've ever thought about exploring the private dining business, you don't want to miss this one. Stay tuned.
I came here in 2004 and it was just my immediate family. We basically just got up after our parents let us know and like within a week's time that we were leaving, and
This is in Albania?
This is in Albania. We got to say goodbye to our family.
How old are you?
I'm 11 at this point. And then we just basically show up to Chicago, didn't know anybody here, and just moved into this tiny little apartment. My parents started going to work, and all of a sudden I went from being in an environment where I knew tons of people to all of a sudden just like being here alone, not speaking the language, and having to basically just like start living life almost on my own. Like I had an older sibling, but.
So for people that don't know, why did you guys have to leave Albania?
So obviously this is a big land of opportunity kind of situation, but obviously there was, after the breakup of Yugoslavia, everybody was like fighting for territory, and there was a war, a genocide that was happening in the northern part of Albania, and it was just not a good place to raise kids. It was after the fall of communism as well, so it was basically literally anarchy. Like there would just be like raining bullets a lot of the time. Like,
do you remember that?
Yeah. Like Albania has something like 700,000 bunkers, more than any other country like per capita. So like they were just ready for war all the time. Obviously, we're part of like World War I, World War II, the Cold War, this whole situation, and then we had a dictator, and we were under a communist regime until basically I was born, but that just carried on into our lives still. And again, like there just wasn't, once the borders opened up, there was just like a mass exodus of people, and it was just anarchy. Like there was no real political party. People were kind of fighting for power. And it was just a tough little environment to kind of grow up in, or at least like from the outside perspective. When you're a kid, you don't know any better. And if you're like growing up, quote unquote, poor, and everybody else around you is just as poor, you don't know that you're poor. So like, I wouldn't say that I necessarily had a bad childhood. Coming to the United States, all of a sudden I realized that there was a lot of people that had way more than you do. And all of a sudden like that matters, but it never did then. We all just like had, all my grandparents come from families of like 15 kids. So they had a ton of kids. So I got a billion cousins and aunts and uncles and all that kind of stuff. So we were always a part of a really big community all the time. And all the people that lived there had lived there for literally hundreds of years. Everybody knows everybody. And it's not like here at all, where you kind of like want to stay away from your neighbor. You might live in these communities, but you like kind of want to stay to your own. Like there, everybody knows everybody. They're all in each other's businesses all the time. So that's the annoying part of it, is that everybody's always in your business. And then there's the really great part of it in which you have a really large community that you can always lean to.
So you're 11 years old.
Yeah.
And your parents come to you and say, hey, we're leaving. Was this a very sudden decision, or was this planned out?
It was calculated on their end.
Yeah.
My mom literally won the lottery. That's literally what it's called. You like apply, and this happens in a bunch of countries all over the world, but you apply, and then like once a year they pick out X amount of people, and then she'd apply to a bunch of places like Canada, New Zealand, Germany, Italy, and then we got accepted into the US. So it seems like they got their plans together, but they really didn't let us know. We went to like our grandparents' village for like that last time that summer and just hung out there. And then, next thing you know, it's time to go. And it's January and we're in Chicago and it's like freezing cold.
So you go from Albania.
Yeah.
You arrive in Chicago. It's freezing cold.
Yeah.
Right now it's cold. I mean, right now it's cold in Chicago. We just had this big.
We were at negative 27. You guys, I came here. People were complaining. They're like, "Oh my God, it's 37." I'm like, "Dude,
it was 44 when I came in."
Yeah, it was like 60 degrees warmer here. It's nice.
Yeah. Well, in Texas, when you have these ice storms, like the whole state shuts down. I had to cancel like four podcasts. So I'm behind on a couple of episodes. I had a sorry chefs that were supposed to come on, but we had to reschedule a couple of episodes. But anyway, we digress. So you're 11 years old. You arrive in Chicago, and it was just your immediate family. Yep. So you're leaving behind everyone.
Everybody. Wow. Yeah. I have my my parents and my older sibling. And like my parents they were in the economic world back in Albania. Like they went to school, got their degrees, etc. Once you come here, those are nullified, right? So now you're in your early to mid 40s. You're going to a place where you don't speak the language. You have to work 2 jobs, and they're like janitorial jobs. They're not like in the field in which you're in.
Right.
And so like imagine that sacrifice. You know, like all the bullshit that I complain about or people my age like complain about. Like I'm the first person in my family to know what it's like to pursue meaning. You know, my parents just survived. My grandparents just survived. Like they were just brought up in these really kind of harsh environments in which you were just required to participate. And it didn't matter whether you liked the job or not. You just had to do that job. So I think like a tremendous part of my work ethic has come from that, of just being like, dude, look at what my parents would sacrifice just to make sure that I have a better future. Like I have a lot riding on this, and I think about that all the time in the sense of like, I need to give back to my community because they've always been there to support me. And so it's always in the forefront of my mind and how I lead life.
When I was younger, I worked in a restaurant in Colorado, and I want to say like 80% of the staff there was from Russia.
Okay.
And I remember having conversations with some of them, and like a busser or a dishwasher. Specifically, I remember one of the bussers was a doctor. And saying, you know, and I remember thinking like, you know, and I was young. I didn't understand like, well, why are you a busser? Like, why aren't you a doctor if you're a doctor?
Yeah.
And I, you know, sometimes I would think, oh, these guys are full of shit. I didn't believe them. Not understanding, you know, what people were going through on the other side of the world. How tough was it to leave your family behind? Because I'm assuming cousins, friends, aunts, uncles.
I think initially it was like fun being somewhere different. Like you kind of don't understand that you're like going away forever when you're that young. You're like, yeah, we're moving, but you don't really know what that means. And we've been back. Like I go back. Obviously I still talk to all my family there, but like, man, the craziest part is that you start to become somebody that they used to know. Like it's just like the saddest thing. It makes me super emotional because like, you know, like I have cousins, and when you're a kid, like you can look at somebody that's like 30 or 35 and be like, dude, like that's fucking old. Like that person's really up there, right? So I could look at like my uncles at that time or et cetera. And now they're like getting older. And so there's like this big long period in which you're not there for this period in their life, but you know them. And then they don't get to hear from you as much and vice versa. And there wasn't like social media. So it's not like you could like follow each other at this time. So
snail mail, writing letters, right?
Yeah, man. Or like you would have to like buy these little cards and like punch the numbers in to be able to call, but they're like 7 hours ahead. So you got to call at specific times. And like, so you become somebody that they used to know, and now they're having kids, and now you've never met their kids, and they're having this life, and they talk to their kids about how this is like their cousin that lives in the US. Like when I was a kid, my dad's uncle lived in Boston, and he would like send us these packages with like, you know, clothes or whatever, right? And like that's always how I knew him, was just like this person that I'd never met, but that was over there. And then you just become so like weirdly desensitized to not having that around you, even though it's such a big part of who you are.
How did that shape you as a chef when you came here and you started working at kitchens? How did your identity being Albanian shape your work ethic and how you approach kitchens when you first got into them?
I loved every moment of it right away because of 2 things. Like I played soccer my entire life, team sport, like you all win together or lose together. And then B was just like the militant aspect of it. Like growing up in a place like Albania where obviously it was like communist, like everybody had to be a part of the army. Like everybody had to serve. My parents have both had to serve. And so like, I just grew up in a yes sir environment. Like your parents' word is just law. Like your grandparents' word is law. Like you don't. And so like the moment that I jumped into kitchens, I was like, yeah, this is for me. Like I never had a single problem with like following chefs or just like doing the things that I needed to be doing. Like, and I hate authority. Like it's why I work for myself. Like I can't stand any sort of like authoritarian figure at all. But like when it comes down to, you know, following somebody that I really respect, like I don't care what position I have to play, like as long as the team is winning, that's all that matters. And so those 2 things was, you know, playing soccer and then growing up in a place like that where it was super, it was just very strict, man. I just grew up in a fucking tight environment. Like my parents just had a stronghold on us at all times. Like it's not like here where it's just, you kind of know the teachers and you kind of go to like their parent teachers. It's like, no, like they went to school with the people that end up becoming your teachers and they know their parents. And so like anywhere you walk within the neighborhoods, like everybody's like watching you, you know? So it's like, it's this, you grow up with the feeling that you have to like make your people proud. And so you constantly have to watch how you behave. And like, you want to be known as somebody that bends over backwards to take care of other people. And so like your reputation matters. And so like in kitchens, I was like, I got to go hard. Like I have to be one of the best people here just in general. Like I've just always been super competitive too. So that part of it, I was like, I need to make sure that I'm participating. And that's what I guess the biggest difference between something like capitalism over communism. It's like everybody's quote unquote equal, but it's just like, you know, in the Western world, you have to be number one or you're not relevant, which is just not true. Like everybody plays a small part into making the entire society happen. Whereas like in these other places, like you have to participate, you have to do your part, but there's no such thing as you don't participate at all. So jumping into kitchens, I was like, okay, great. Like if I'm working garmo or steam or saute or whatever it is, I'm like, I just need to do my little part here really well to make sure that like the rest of the team is doing well too. Like I think I got that from the beginning.
Did any of your identity of being Albanian now come through in the food that you create in your cooking?
A little bit, but I think the crazy part is that like I grew up in a very traditional household in the sense of like, you know, the men would go to work, the women would stay at home. But like, you know, my parents didn't by that time, like they both had to work. But like the rest of the time, it's like, I never had to cook growing up. Like I did plenty of other things, but like I never had to, like, I don't have that story of like, I grew up on like my grandma, like, yeah, I was around, like I would peel cabbages or whatever, but it wasn't like I was like cooking. And so like, I never really got to learn how to do a lot of Albanian food until I got older and had to like be inquisitive and ask my, you know, my people on how to do it. But then, you know, like even when I was here, like we ate Albanian food at home all the time. Like my mom would still cook all the time.
Well, you've worked in some really great restaurants, and you've worked for the Alinea Group, and specifically, I mean, you posted a video I think the other day where maybe you were doing a lamb, right? And you're based in slicing. It looked great. I love the traditional cooking techniques. For me personally, now it's not that I don't like some of the more modernist or molecular gastronomy, because I do. I did that for a long time, and you know, I like went down that lane and said, this is what I'm going to do. For me, later on, I was like, you know what? I know I started doing that, but I don't like it that much. I like cooking. You know, I like the process of making stocks and sauces and roasting meat and things like that. You know, cooking more in the traditional sense. But that's me. I want to ask you about you, because you've worked in, you know, in a lot of different styles. How did that shape you, and how do you cook now, having worked in so many different styles of kitchens?
I think I definitely prefer more classical, traditional cooking. I do think that there's a lot of benefit to learning how to do things kind of the old way first, and then being able to do them in, you know, take that same kind of element and practice it in molecular gastronomy if that's the route that you want to go. My philosophy is really more around finding a really great ingredient and trying to just not fuck it up. And just trying to showcase it in maybe a couple of different ways, but then keeping it very simple. I just think that it's always going to trump going directly into like a 3-star place. Like, and I don't know, maybe sometimes like you do get to learn that sort of thing in a 3-star place if you go there right away. But I think, you know, if I look back at like the first restaurants that I worked at, the first one that I worked at even for a couple of months before I went to like my actual first restaurant job was like a diner, right? And like working the egg station at a diner is fucking crazy, right? Because you're like, these guys would make hollandaise in a double boiler like this, right? And you like, that's a big batch to mess up, right? Like you're actually streaming it, you're keeping it in 9 pans, like, and you think you got to constantly keep up with that temperature. Like, yeah, sure, you could add a touch of xanthan to it and make sure, or you put it in an ISI and just hold it in a bath and just put it over your poached eggs. Like, if you're thinking about logistics like that, like, sure, but you need to know how to make that hollandaise first, right? So, like, I worked at that place and then went directly into this, like, French-Japanese fusion cuisine. That was a really big restaurant. We were doing probably 400 or 500 covers a night. And it was all so traditional. Like, we didn't do any, like, sous vide or anything like that. Like, you cooked all fish, chicken, beef, all from raw. And it was just a long, giant line with a bunch of burners, right? So it's not even a French top. Like, you have to constantly watch your pan so your sauces are not burning. You have one double-decker oven and you throw in like friggin', you're fired on 30 different pieces of meat. You're constantly touching on all of them, as opposed to just being like, okay, cool. Like I have all these things individually packaged in a sous vide bag. I'm dropping it at 56 for however long. I'm taking it out. I'm just getting color and searing it, finishing with butter, garlic, whatever you're doing. And just being able to send that out. But I think like, getting to the point where you can touch all the food all the time, learning how to do basic things like emulsifying sauces on the fly.
Yeah.
And just getting the timing right, like being able to communicate with everybody else in the kitchen about how long you actually need, and having these people just be on your ass, man. I remember we all had timers on our stations and we were all just like clicking and just dogging each other. Like if you didn't get it in that time, because it's like, I thought you were the shit. Like, because that's how you're acting, right? Like, and that's, for me and everybody else, right? It's just like there's a level of competition in those kitchens that really kind of gets you to, you have to just like, this is one of those careers where you cannot hide. And like, it's because you're in such short time restriction, not just like during service, but like leading up to prep and just being sure that you're like good, all set up to do a giant service.
Yeah.
I mean, it's those skills are going to translate to literally everything else that you do in life, because like, that's the whole concept behind me saying something like, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent. And it was at that same restaurant where like this pastry chef, she was a pastry chef at Blackbird right before that. And I'm just like, I'm young at this point, right? Like we're in pre-shift one day, and I just remember so distinctively her saying, practice makes permanent. And it's one of these things, like these concepts where it's like, it like your entire life, you've known it, but like you'd never heard anyone put it into words before. In the moment that she said that, I was like, it was like a light switch going off, right? And I was like, I knew exactly what she meant when she said that, because I'm just like, dude, if you cut corners, if you skip steps, like that's going to become your practice.
Right.
If you're just like, look, I'm just going to pick up that thing off the floor. I'm going to wipe my station. I'm going to make sure that my knife is, facing straight, whatever it is, like these little things, if you just do it all the time, like it just becomes a habit to the point where it's like breathing. You just don't even have to think about it anymore.
It's like that Aristotle quote, we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. And one of the things that I used to really train my cooks on is like, I want so many of your good habits to be on autopilot.
Yeah.
And they would get annoyed with me, like, no, fold your towel this way, put your knife right here all the time, set your bane right here, whatever the case may be, cut the fish always like this. And it wasn't that I was that picky, it's just I didn't want them to think about it, because I wanted their habits and their work practices to be excellent on autopilot. Because then you'll start to notice.
Yeah.
That's when you really start to notice what level you're at, is when your habits are, an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, and you go work somewhere else and like, oh, wow. Everyone says, wow, you're really good.
Yeah.
But it's not that you have this extra IQ that other people don't have. It's just like you practiced at a higher level. So you understand things at a higher level. And I love that. Practice makes permanent.
I call it robotics, man. Like you just get to a point where you do the same movement every time.
You're like programming, right?
It is, but you're grooving neural pathways in your brain. I want to reach for the spoon and to be in the same place every time. I want to do the pickup the exact same way every single time.
Yeah.
Like I wish that more people kind of understood that, especially as like young chefs, because you want to do a bunch of different things. You want to try things in a bunch of different ways, but it's like you gotta, like, it's like when you come onto somebody's station and they're like, okay, cool, like do it in the way that I'm teaching you in the beginning, and like once you get it, like sure, you can add your own things and make it work, but like in the beginning you got to do it this way. Like you're being shown this way for a reason, and like gotta practice it that way.
When people would come up to me, especially if it's someone that I've never worked with before, and I'm the chef and maybe they're helping me, and they'd come and I'd say, stop, let's just don't put that there.
Yeah.
Put it here. Here's why. Like, don't hand me the deli with the lid on it. Take it off over, and here's why. Because it's an extra step. And when I have a spoon, and I don't need that. I don't need that extra second.
Yeah.
And then okay, so it starts to click, and then you start to have this cadence with the other people.
Yeah.
And then your whole kitchen has that same cadence. It's like, okay, now we could flow.
Yeah.
Because we all are working off the same system. And I don't know if everyone fully understands how important that dance. And dancing to the same song.
Yeah. Right? I wish more than anything that they would look at it and understand that like them doing that for somebody else does not make them lesser than. Like it's such a fucking skill to be able to look like, okay, this is what chef needs, and just being like, how do I make it as easy as possible for this person to succeed? Like that's a skill set in and of itself. Like it doesn't make you lesser because you're like the person opening up the delis. Dude, who cares? Like, do you need the team to win or not?
Right.
And like It's super important. Yeah. Like, and every kitchen is different. Of course, like every chef has their own tendencies, but just a willingness to be able to learn things in the way that you were taught and how will make you successful. Like, you don't know it in the moment. It's like you have to look back and just be like, oh, I learned all these skill sets, and now I can apply them in the ways in which I need to.
Yeah, as we're talking, I'm thinking back to when I was still active chef, and I would have like someone that was my direct report, like a sous chef or chef de cuisine, and they're plating at the pass, and I happen to pop in. I'm not running service, but I happen to be there. They're running service, so when I step in and I see them, and I see that they're saucing, and the spoon is dirty, and I'll hand them the tray, put it there. And then I'll dip it in the Bane or whatever. Or I noticed that, and here's the plate wipe, chef. And they're not asking me for this. And it's not that I'm viewing this as some things like, oh, I'm doing helper work. No, that's part of that's part of the game. Like, hey, I want to be handing you the plate wipe because I saw you look at it.
Yeah.
And you're going to need it in about 5 seconds, and I'm going to have it ready for you because we're thinking about the same things.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something beautiful about that ability to work with someone at a very high level.
If you could just look out, like if you could just step outside of yourself and look at the entire thing, like it's not that somebody's putting a couple of herbs on the dish, is that like somebody warms a plate, is that somebody passes the sauce, is somebody slices the bread, like it all comes together.
Yeah.
And so if you look at all those touches, all those steps of service, you can be a part of it. It doesn't matter. Like you're all a part of it. And the guest doesn't know. They don't care, actually. I'm like, they're just getting something in front of them.
Yeah.
And which is completely fine. Like that's the mysticism that I enjoy about it. I don't want them to think about any of that. I just want them to be there. I want to create an opportunity for people to be there with one another and just enjoy each other's company.
How do you train that in cooks?
I just think you have to care, dude. Like I think of it as such a personal thing. And that goes back to like me growing up, in Albania. Like this is a really difficult one for me. Like, I think it's probably the thing that I struggle with most because I'm so passionate about it. And like, I think that I've always kind of had this desire, like to just be the best at whatever it is that I'm doing. Like, I don't care if I'm a plumber, I'm just going to try to be the best that I can at it. But like, I think the way that you train people in that is trying to get them to understand what their actions end up, like what is the causation of you taking these actions over a long period of time. You can work in a restaurant where everybody is just, dog eat dog, and you don't have a good relationship with the people that you are working with. But like the moment that you start seeing that, like you do one little thing for your teammate and it makes them feel this way and they reciprocate it, like you just have a better working environment. And you're working with these people 60, 70, 80 hours a week. You might as well enjoy that. So I think like getting people to understand from the beginning that like the choices that they're making have impact on other people's lives, I think will make them think twice about the way that they're behaving. And I think, at least for me, the great thing about the restaurants that I've worked at, it's like everybody was so much about the same outcome that like if you weren't, you would just be ostracized. Like the rest of the team would just not jive with you. Like it'd be very clear that we don't gel together. We don't think about the same stuff.
Well, it's interesting because, in what I do, I talk to a lot of chefs and cooks, and a lot of times when you're a young cook, you don't understand, why does no one like me here?
Yeah.
You think everyone hates you because, for whatever reason, you think of all these reasons that they don't like you, but the main reason is because you're not good.
Sure.
That's the main reason. It's not all these other reasons that you think they don't like you. It's that they depend on you to do a certain task, and when you don't deliver it, they have to pick up the slack.
And I wish that more people knew that, like, if you don't have the skill set, if you just had a fucking great attitude, dude, like I never went to culinary school. I literally just was willing to be there at all times. Like whatever you need, I'll be there at all times, and like, that's the other part of where it's like, it's not, we don't like you because we see that chef told you to slice this thing with your knife to this thickness, and I see you using a mandolin and fucking hacking through this thing. Like,
right.
I know you're pressed for time. Like me too. Like you're either gonna have a shit day, you're gonna go home and have pain and reflection, and then come back the next day and try to do it differently, or you're not. Like you're just gonna be like, no, well, I just want to be able to do this way. Okay, well, you can't. I don't know what I'm going to say. Like there's a standard, and we all have to we have to uphold that standard.
Yeah. Yeah. And something else that, for young cooks listening, that maybe you are in a position where, your skill set doesn't match the rest of the team. You're at a lower skill set. There's things that you can do. You could fold everyone's towels.
Totally.
You could make sure everyone has plate wipes. You could make sure the walk-in's clean. You could do some of those things that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Right? You could say, hey, look, sorry about this. I'm going to take care of your station tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to hear all your labels.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like there's little things that you could do that don't necessarily require skill, but would be emotional investments in them. Like, hey, you know what? They're not such a shithead. Like they cleaned my station for me. They made sure the walk-in was tight, whatever. Right. But instead, a lot of times cooks get frustrated because they went to culinary school or they have some understanding or they have some experience and they think I am good. And then they get around a bunch of people that are at a higher level than them, that are better than them. And then they think, well, you shouldn't be treating me like this because I'm good. It's like, you got to be good here.
The good thing is like, you never arrive. Like you're never there, dude. Like there's always, I'm telling you that there's levels to this shit. Like in every capacity, there's levels to this thing. Like, and you should also know that if you're at the bottom of the totem pole, like that is a very good thing. Like that means that there's a really big gap from where you are and where you want to be, and that you have a lot of room to grow there. Like once you work every station and then you become a sous chef and then you take care of the AM team and you know how to do that, and like you can look around you and maybe the CDC position is taken or the exact, like once you hit a wall, it becomes like the gap closes between like you and the other sous chefs and then the CDC and the head chef. Like there's still a gap. But that closes not quite as big, and maybe at that point it might be time for you to move on. If you can look in the future a couple of years and you're like, none of these people are leaving, like I'm not going to be learning anything else while I'm here. Like I kind of know how to operate at this level, if that's what you want to do. Some people stay places for 8 years, and if that's what you want to do, like do it. But I think people should know, especially if you're a young cook, like if you're in a position where you're like, dude, like I'm at the bottom of the totem pole here, that's a great position to be in. Even if you're in business. Like I had to join an entrepreneurial organization because I'm just like, okay, I know a lot about cooking, but I don't know a lot about how to run a business. Like I was a sous chef at whatever, a Michelin star restaurant, which is cool. And there's, there was a lot that I took from that into like how to do my business. But all of a sudden, like now you have to learn everything else about the business. Yeah. And when I look at the structure, even if it's, your classical kitchen structure, you're like, why is there an executive chef and why is there a CDC? And like, why is the CDC in control of all food if you're the executive chef? And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, the executive chef is responsible for like marketing, like getting people to be in seats. Yeah. Like that's really your job. You're looking at all of it. And like, there's somebody handling the food part and there's somebody handling the front of house part, but like you're there kind of like trying to control that whole thing. And that's also a skill set. Like you got to figure out, how do we let people know about our product and how do we get these people to be in here? Right.
So you bring up such a good point, and it's actually, I was thinking about doing a solo podcast on this about the difference in the way people view themselves and what's in front of them. Because you have a cook, the only thing that they see is the pans and the mise in front of them, and then maybe you have a CDP who oversees one or two cooks. Well, they see what they see, but they also see two other people that are supposed to help them get the job done. The sous chef might oversee 5 people, and so they have a little bit of a greater scope. The chef de cuisine might oversee 10 and they see everything that's going on in the kitchen. The executive chef or chef owner oversees everything. They have a different perspective and they're viewing everything, and they have to be able to do all those jobs, but they're also doing a different job. And that job is to make sure the whole is running. And they're making decisions based on the whole, not necessarily where the cook is looking at it like, I'm making decisions based on my pan and my mise en place. And so your decision-making process just keeps expanding outwards. Hard for people to understand that.
Super.
Because a lot of times when you're the cook, you think, why is chef making this decision to screw me over? It's like, he or she is not making that decision to screw you over. They're usually making a decision on what's best for the whole.
It's, I think you just have to be able to step out to it. You got to get to that point, man, where it's like, you're responsible for people's livelihoods. Like it is a different conversation. Like, even being on a chef podcast, I'm like, this is so much more than just cooking. Like cooking is just like, you can do this stuff with your eyes closed at this point, right? Like you do this thing for long enough. It's not that difficult to cook at a high level if you work with good ingredients and use proper technique. But dude, like you do leadership stuff. I'm like, why is that such a big thing? Like why are so many people reach out about leadership stuff? Because like that's a really critical skill set of trying to get a bunch of people to see one vision and align them towards that vision on an everyday basis when you're dealing with 30 different personalities and like where they're at in their lives and the things that they need, right? Like you have to be that person even when you're a cook. Like I think like that's kind of like one of the blessings that I had is that like I kind of understood that from the beginning, where I'm just like, I play a small part into this very big thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like I don't think a lot of people kind of see that. The moment that they're like, well, I don't feel like I'm advancing enough or quickly enough to my own standard, like now all of a sudden like you want to leave. But I'm like, you gotta put in that time. Like if you only work there for 6 months to a year, you get to a certain level and then you go to the same place and then you start at the bottom again. Like you might as well just have stayed somewhere for 3 years and try to figure out exactly that just getting your lens to be a little bit wider.
Right. Leadership, your culinary skills get you so far, but leadership allows you to become a force multiplier with your culinary skills. Yeah. You're able to pass that on to a larger group. Where business acumen now allows you to scale your leadership skills to multiple restaurants or whatever. I want to ask you about your business because it's an interesting business model, and not a lot of people that I've actually. You might be the first guest I've had on the show that kind of does what you do.
Yeah.
Can you explain to people kind of what your business is and what your business model is?
Yeah. So it's called Vendador. Essentially we're a luxury private dining company. What that really means is like we're a moving restaurant. We provide all plateware, glassware, silverware, linen napkins. We have sommeliers on a team, mixologists on a team. So it's all encompassing as far as dining experience, and anything food and beverage we do. We don't really do any like corporate catering or drop-offs or stuff like that. Like we'll do parties for corporate companies, but nothing like that. So we'll do, smaller weddings that are like 80 to like 100 people, very much kind of catered towards people that are foodies, if you will, like people that really care about the food at their wedding as opposed to decor. Like I'm not saying like these people are super well off, they have it all, but I just mean like food is really important to them. So stuff like that. And the rest of it is, private dining in people's homes. So we're just doing tasting menus in people's homes.
And how did you get started in that?
It was,
and you didn't have a background in that, right?
No, it was COVID. I hit up my chef from the Alinea group at the time. I was like, well, anyway, as I was leaving the Alinea group, I was like, I want to move to Napa or like, somewhere else. And I wanted to work at another 3-star place. So, he set me up with a bunch of stages. I went and staged at a bunch of places and I got a job at a restaurant in Napa. And then they're like, cool, like in a couple of months, like you'll move out here, like, et cetera, et cetera. And so like I moved back, or I go back to Chicago, I'm hanging out and COVID hits. It just, I don't know, like it felt weird, right? Like all of a sudden everybody's like furloughed and like anybody else, I thought this thing is just going to blow over, right? We're just like, here's another whatever hoax. Like this thing is just, everything's going to go back to normal,
everyone's
right?
Overreacting,
And so like, but I got so bored. Like I was just hanging out at the house for like a week and a half and I was just used to working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And I was like, dude, I'm bored out of my mind. And people were like supporting small businesses at the time. And, that was kind of like the central focus. And so I just like started cooking meals out of my house. I was like, look, I'll take orders today. This is what I'm cooking, like on Friday or Saturday. I'll either come drop off or you can come pick it up, literally just to stay busy. And the first week I got like 60 orders.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, like I did that for a couple of weeks. It just kept growing. It kept getting bigger. And one of my purveyors hit me up and was like, hey, do you want to do a private event for somebody? And I said, yes, I did that. And I was like, well, I just made in one day what I would otherwise make in a week. And so I kind of started shifting that attention to doing more of those. And it's been crazy because it's all been organic in terms of like growth. Like people just keep coming to us. Like this is the first time that I've hired somebody full time.
So you don't do any like marketing ads or anything like that?
No.
Everything is organic, word of mouth.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just hired somebody, and I'm in year 4 now. I just hired somebody to be full time outreach salesperson.
Uh-huh.
So we can start focusing on some more like kind of global stuff, like start going in other places of the world or just like the wedding industry and even the country, just doing more things.
So I want to ask you about your business acumen and how you got there, because you were going from predominant cooking positions right into predominant. You still have to cook, but you also have to run a business now.
Dude, everything. Yeah.
How much did you know going into it, and how much did you have to learn? And what were some of the big learnings that we could give the audience? Like, hey, if you're going to do this, here's some things that you might want to think about.
I would say I probably knew zero about it because this is not something that I really was going to take seriously. Like I was like, I'm doing this just in the in between. And then at some point I started to see it really kind of take off to the point where I was like, okay, now I'm reinvesting all into the business. Like I started out of my house, and then a friend at the time was doing something similar, and he was like building out a kitchen. So I got to work with him there and, pay partial rent and blah, blah. He helped me out a lot in the beginning there until I literally just saved every dollar. Like I was like not paying myself for the first 2 years. Like I don't even care about money like that. Like not to say I really love investing. Like I love playing the game, but like as far as like me, like I wasn't even paying myself. I'm like, I just want to keep playing this game. So I was just taking all that money, buying, plateware, glassware, silverware, saved all the money to, buy a space, built out a kitchen space. Mm-hmm. And so like I was just kind of guessing the entire way until I started I joined this entrepreneurial organization a couple of years ago because I was like, okay, man, like I don't know enough about business. Like what ends up happening is that you are a generalist in the beginning. You're wearing all the hats and you're a generalist and everything, whether that's marketing or sales bills, or you're doing it all. Like the first person I hired full time was an accountant. Yeah. Because I was like, I just need like somebody to bounce ideas about this money thing. Like I need to kind of like understand the cash flow of this thing all the time.
Make sure you pay your taxes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and so like I wish that if I had to do it all over again, I would have had a better business plan. Like I would have known who my avatar is, like who am I trying to target, and just how much market cap is there? Like how big can this thing actually get, and what would it actually take? Like I would just at least do like mock numbers, being like realistically, like how big is my pool of people that I can actually feed into this thing all the time.
Do you enjoy this business more than restaurant business?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And the only reason I say that is because I get to be my own boss, which I just, man, like I think that people might be listening to this thing and they're like, I can do that. Like I can look at his Instagram. I'm telling you, like it is not that. Like we do this stuff on Instagram and it's beautiful and it's really great. It's awesome cooking, but dude, like the majority of it is business. Like it's the people component, it's the cash component, it's the execution component. Like
I'm sure there's also a big logistics component.
There is a big yeah. You're in a different space, doing a different menu with different pairings. Almost, we have a pretty similar staff, but like you have different staff. Like some of these people are contractors, some of them are full time.
Yeah.
Right. So you're like, how do you get people that work with you once or twice a week to believe in the dream the same way that the people that are there?
Yeah. And a really scary component that people don't think about. You can't fuck up someone's wedding.
No, dude. And it's for sure. Like you're not like every event that we do is like a 50th birthday, like a graduation or whatever. Like it's something really important. And not to say that that's not the same thing in restaurants, but some people are just like, we're going to go out to this restaurant and spend $200 and we're going to have dinner. We'll grab a couple of sides, whatever, one main and have a glass of wine or two a piece. And like, it'll be like $250, whatever. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's a Wednesday night. When people are spending 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, like it's a different conversation. And I will say at the same time, like, man, if I've learned anything about like the way that wealthy people behave, I'm like, try to sell expensive products to people that have the money. Like trying to get people to be satisfied with like going to a restaurant and they're like, the bill was $80. I'm like, you have no fucking idea how much time and effort it took for you to get this food in front of you. And this restaurant is actually making like 2 to 3% in margins. So, but still, I mean, it's just coming to terms with how the actual machine works. Like, I think you should try to have an idea, and you might not get it right the first time, but just have an idea of like, where's this money coming from? Like, how many people am I going to need to make this thing happen? And like, what are the logistics of it?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I can go really deep into that kind of stuff because I'm such a nerd about it at this point, but it's almost like the bigger you get, the more it becomes like this monster in a way. Like, there was a point where I was like, okay, this thing is a monster that like I created that like I almost can't stop. Like, once you look at your monthly bills, you're like, oh, okay, this is different than like me cooking out of my house with my buddies. Now you're like, I have people on salary and health insurance and all this stuff, right? You're like, I'm responsible for people's livelihood, and like nobody cares. At the end of the day, like, you got to look at this list and you be like, oh, these bills got to get paid. And you go from having $2 grand to 5 to 10 to 50, and you're like, it's crazy, right? Like,
how what are the margins like? So you had mentioned like restaurant margins sometimes, 1%, sometimes negative, right? Depending on the restaurant. You're putting money in, you're taking no money to the bank, or you're not getting paid. How are the margins different in your business?
From at least from my understanding, at least, is like most restaurants have anywhere between like 3 to 10, and that's pretty average. And then if you're doing like 15, like that's pretty good. Like that's pretty solid. For us, it's anywhere between like 22 to 25%.
That's great.
Yeah, and like my food cost is generally like 11%.
And can you explain why that is?
Well, I get to quote unquote charge a lot more because of how much goes on in the back, right? Like we're not opening up a restaurant to cook for tons of people, where it's like, once I buy this product, like I have to cook it for you. All these things are done just for you. It's personalized just for you.
You're not buying for 20 different menu items. You're buying for what they ordered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and like
pre-sold.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work, because okay, like I might not need a case of tomatoes. Like I might not need a case of whatever. So like I can't necessarily have everything delivered to me all the time. Now I got to run to the store also. So like once a week on Monday, it's like I'm going to the store, I'm hand picking a bunch of this stuff. Like I don't get seafood from like the grocery store. Like I have to go to my purveyors, and thankfully like the whole system is really well set up to where I live and work really close to, and it's right next to like the food district in Chicago, where I can go pick up a lot of this stuff, which is great. But like it's just a totally different experience, and like we're only doing one of these a night. Like not everybody can have the experience, right? We're not.
Yeah, I'd imagine during the holidays you probably are spread pretty thin.
Dude, we did 30 events in 23 days. Biggest month to date. I mean, just crazy. And like, it just didn't feel hard.
No.
You
have a good team around you.
Super.
So when you're looking to hire people to work with you specifically in this, what are you looking for?
We're looking for, we have company values, which is not like most restaurants that are just like, you've been so inundated and everybody's just like so ride or die, or at least like in the kind of restaurants that I've worked at, where it's like nobody ever talked to you about company values. That sounds really corporate.
Yeah.
But like the further that I've gotten along, the more I've been like, okay, here's the actual issue is like when I first started, I would just hire my friends and being like, all these people I've worked at 1, 2, or 3 Michelin star restaurants, like they know what's going on. They know how to do this, until you realize everybody has different systems. So it's like now you're getting frustrated because you haven't communicated anything to anybody, and like you think that they're doing certain things because they don't give a shit or whatever. And you're just like, okay, bro, you need to actually just like be clear at communicating. That's my issue, right? Or was, and it's something that I had to like look back at. And so like now we have very specific, they have their handbook when they come in. Like we have company values, and most of them are fairly basic, like hospitality, humility. Preparedness is another one. And then the last one, which is kind of the bigger one, is devotion, which is, this is one that we played with a lot because, it's just a very intense word for a lot of people. They're just like, do you mean commitment? Like, do you mean like involvement? And I'm like, no, I mean devotion. Like, I need you to be all in, and I need you to be all about the things that we're doing. And I don't mean I need you to be all in on me or my vision. I need you to be the kind of person that's all in on themselves. Like, I don't want to babysit, and I don't want to do any hand holding. I need you to take personal accountability, that you just want to do a good job. Like I just don't care. I don't want a pat on the back from anybody. I don't care if I had a service and people were like, that was the best meal of my life, which I've had people tell me that, right? They're just like, that was literally the best meal of my life. I'm like, if I'm not happy with it, I'm not happy with it. So I'm looking for these kind of qualities to begin with. And then everything that's around that is basically like, that's how we hire, fire, train, and reward. It's just based on those things. So like, we know from the beginning, like when I'm hiring these people, like they're meeting with 3 of us. Like I've never used a staffing agency. They're either people that I've personally worked with, or people that have come highly recommended by somebody else, or even when we've done like interviews, like if they're not trying to meet with, 3 people on the team and see what they all think about, then you're not coming to hang out with us anyway.
And is your business only in Chicago?
It's primarily in Chicago. We'll do like the surrounding states, and then we've been, starting to fly around to different places and stuff too. But
you got to get on the F1.
Yeah. I mean, it's we'll see, man. We'll see where this thing takes us. But
So I'm just curious, and I don't know the answers because I've only done a handful of private catering. And what I have noticed in the handful that I've done is that the menus that people select are usually like, I mean, I was listening to a podcast, The Chef's Cut, shout out to those guys. They had Michael Anthony on from Gramercy Tavern. And he was talking about how when he took over at Gramercy, he wanted to take off the filet mignon with the cipollini onions, thinking like, I don't want to cook this.
Yeah.
But people revolted because that's what they went for. That was their favorite dish. I would imagine that it's probably not always what you want to cook.
I would say probably 95% of the time it is.
It is.
And then I would say the other 5% is me just being kind. You know, the one thing that I will say is that like I actually don't care that much about feeling like I'm being creative or like I'm doing my food. It is more important to me that these people are really enjoying their time. But I think that we're positioned in a way where people are looking at us as the experts, and I hold all the consultations. Like
so when you're designing menus, do you have like a set menu and you present, or do you go? No. Is everything custom with the guest?
Everything is custom with the guest. Like, of course, I'll repeat dishes, and if it's morel season, like I'm gonna have morel season. Like, put it this way, like let's say February 17th or something, right? Like I have an event that day, and then you hit me up and say, hey, I need something for February 18th. I'm gonna try to give you that menu if it aligns, right? And if you say no, like that's completely fine. Then we'll do something different. But like I'll try to use that as a way to just be like, okay, cool. Then I can just do this menu, or like at least components from this menu 2 days in a row. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I host all the consultations. So when I'm on the phone with people, I'm just like, you know, what direction do you want us to go in? You like Mediterranean, Asian, Latin flavors? Are there any do not likes? Is there anything that you absolutely hate? Are there things that you absolutely love? Right.
Yeah.
And people will kind of give you a lot of this information, and then basically I tell them, I'm like, look, like nothing is set in stone. I'm going to send you over a menu, take a look at it, say we really like this, we want to make a change on that, and we'll work on it until we get it right.
What do you notice most clients want? The reason I'm asking is because I think a lot of people that want to get into your business might not know where to begin when they start writing menus.
For sure. I think for me, it's just about having a little bit of a progression, right? So like I a lot of my background is in French, Japanese, Mediterranean. So like I really like that flavor profile, but that doesn't mean that we're not doing Latin flavors or Asian, et cetera. Like, I want them to have a variety, or I guess enough of a variety. So usually we're doing anywhere between like 5 to 7 courses. And if they want more, like 8, 10, like we'll do that as well. Mm-hmm. And obviously like that all changes on how large all the bites are or how much they get per course. But I love doing something like a crudo by a vegetable, by like a pasta or a grain, by, you know, a main protein dish, and then dessert, right?
So what percentage of the events that you're doing are plated coursed out dinners versus, you know, maybe they just want family style or a buffet or something like that?
I'd say, 95% of them are all tasty menus.
Wow. And that's actually good.
Yeah. Sometimes they want to do family style, and then like, I think they think that it'll be easier, but it's not easier, because now I got to bring all the plates plus the platters plus the utensils, and we're changing silverware and plates, yeah. and we're changing silverware in between every course, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're flipping constantly. So and like there's literally somebody like washing dishes the entire time, right? Like it's really like a whole operation. Like we're not doing rentals. Like we bring the stuff, right? Like we work with local ceramicists that we have a lot of beautiful plateware.
That's very cool.
All Riedel glassware, right? Like working with level 2, 3 sommeliers, like. And so, I think their experience is like they know that in the way that we're positioned. So the majority of the time, like I'm almost never revising a menu. Like I kind of just shoot them something the first time. They might say something like, we don't like duck. Fine, like do the chicken, the beef, whatever it is. Like these things are fairly interchangeable. I'm also at a point, and you know, I'm not saying that people should be like this. Like it's probably better. If you do write a bunch of this stuff down, but like I'm not really cooking with recipes, like because I'm so heavily involved. Like I was just with Ron, like we just did this pop-up together. Like we don't use recipes. We're literally like we were talking about that. Like
you just know how to cook.
We just know how to cook.
And when you're a small team like that, and you know how to cook.
Yeah. Exactly. There's 3 of us. We're doing it all the time. Like there's repeat kind of menus, and I got my eyes on everything. It's a little bit different.
Right.
But you know, for the people that are listening and they're trying to do this thing, like I mean, just shoot your shot. Like just send over a menu, see if they like it, and if they don't, like change it. Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, my take on recipes is the further out you go with people, the more you need recipes. The tighter it is, the less you need it, especially depending on how involved you are.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, sometimes I might need a recipe because I want it to come out exactly the same way. But for the most part, when you're just cooking, you're just cooking.
Yeah.
Interesting. Your business is really fascinating for me because I don't
Yeah.
I never lived in that world. But it seems like a lot of fun. If someone was getting into the business and they were relatively new, and you said, hey, before you go on any event, here's some contingencies that you always have to have.
Yeah.
Before you go to any event, what are some
Yeah.
of those contingencies that you build?
Dude, you got to have a contract.
Yeah.
Just have the contract. Make sure that people are always signing the contract.
You ask
Like,
for half up front or anything like that?
we do a 25% down payment. The rest of it is due 4 days before. No, yeah, 4 days before. And don't don't go. Like and I've never had to do this. Like fingers crossed. Like thankfully, like I would say 100% of my clients have been really amazing. And I've been very fortunate in that way. But like I've heard plenty of horror stories. Like have a contract. Just years ago, like I had to pay somebody to do all this stuff for me. Like now you can have ChatGPT do it or whatever. But the other thing is to have them send you pictures of what you're cooking out of, like their kitchens. And the majority of the time, these people have beautiful kitchens that they've never cooked out of. Like you turn on the oven, you smell that it's never been used, Yeah. But it's good for them to send you pictures. And the reason I started having people do that is because like I went to an affluent neighborhood in Chicago to do a dinner one time, but it's just like a historic neighborhood. So like you actually can't get permits to like make a lot of changes. So in my mind, I'm thinking they're probably gonna have a beautiful space. I go there. She lives in this high rise that doesn't have a hood, super old, just smoked her house out. You know what I mean? Like just,
Shit.
and so just stuff like that. Like always have a contract, always be very clear on the contract. If there's anything in the beginning of the quote unquote sale, like, for me, it's not really a sale. I'm just having a conversation with somebody. But if there's anything that you think will blow up later, dude, just say it now. Like you don't want to show up and they thought that you had these terms and all of a sudden you have these different terms. Like say it right in the beginning.
Do you go in with a lot of like sous vide or precision cooking to like a lot of the pre-work done? I'm
Yeah.
assuming you're going sauces are made, purees are done, heat up, maybe finish some meat and go.
Yep. At this point, like because I have my own kitchen, so like it's just like prep in a regular restaurant, except I pack it up and I just show up there and I just set up my station and I just run service, 10 top, 12 top, 14 top, whatever it is. Like, I think if I'm good at anything, it's like the operational side of that sort of thing. And again, like I've been cooking for so long that I have a really good base of fundamental cooking to where now I can like do stuff like sous vide and whatever. Like, and those things are really helpful.
Yeah.
It's super helpful. Like you can either have the meat rest for 20, 30 minutes, or you can have it rest for 6 minutes, like, because you already did the circulation of it. So, these tools are just there for you to use. But I think if you're somebody that's just starting, dude, the other part of it, man, dude, just spend the money on the labor. Like in the beginning, I would do crazy stuff, do like an 8 top by myself.
Yeah.
And now you're like cleaning all the dishes, you're doing all this stuff. Dude, just pay for it. They'll have a better time too. Like there's somebody out there that just like loves to be a front of house person and just like do all of these touches and just having somebody there. That's the other part of it is definitely just use the labor. I think, what the point that I'm at now, like it's so big that I'm just dealing with really big numbers to where like, your decisions matter a little bit more. But even when you don't have a lot of it, like, dude, you don't have that much to lose. Like that's the other part of it where I'm like, just use it. Like try to, like if I could start over again, like I would just pump way more money into this thing way faster because I just know so much about the things that would work, but a part of it is just, you got to be able to make that investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not about the money. Like you have to understand it's not about the money. Like the money will come. You have to obsess about the client experience. You're like, how good of a time is this person really having? Like the other thing is, right, when people hit me up all the time, they're like, how do you get clientele? I'm like, well, thankfully I've been blessed enough to where a lot of this comes for me. And I have a really awesome resume that people can trust. And we get tons of referrals, like, especially because, one person hires you, there's 9 other people there. Like they all get to try your product firsthand. But the other part of it, if you're just starting out, dude, hit up everybody that you know, like you're a 3rd grade teacher. I don't care. Everybody that you know, and just say, look, like I'll cook for you for like $30 a person. Like, and all I want from you is for you to leave me a review at the end of it or tell me what I could have done better. Like you need reps. You just need to do it. Like,
yeah.
And that's it. I'm like, start there. And then once these people get in, they reach out to you next time. Like now it's $50 a person. Now it's $100 a person. Now it's $500 a person, right? Like it's just a different experience. You're like, I go to these restaurants. Like I know what it's like to spend a couple grand on dinner. You're like, this is fucking crazy. Like people will do that for you. Like you just have to believe in the fact that somebody out there can spend 10 grand on dinner and they just don't care. Like it's just nothing to them. Like, so, but they do, you know what these people do expect? They're my favorite people to work with because they're just like, I trust you, handle everything. Fucking don't bother me about nothing. But you have to be the kind of person that can actually let them do that. You have to be able to figure all the rest of the stuff out to where
they expect to not worry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Like they can, like something that we say a lot within our messaging is like, you can be a guest at your own party. And it's true. Like we have clients that are just, he's like, yo, like I'm going to be like 10 minutes late. Like I'm just getting off the private jet. Cause that's the life that they live. Like he just flew in from Mexico. Like he just landed and he's being brought to his home and he has a couple of people that he's like eating dinner with that night. That guy doesn't have time to figure out like any of this stuff. Like don't bother these people. Like you're the professional. You have to own the fact that you're the professional. You've got to know all these things.
Chef, as we get closer to wrapping up the show, I have like some standard questions that I want to ask you. So if you're in your kitchen, what is everyone using for tape? Is it the green tape or is it the blue tape?
We use green tape, but I think that's partially just because of like company colors. I guess the blue tape, like I think I always use the blue tape. Sometimes it would be too dark and you're like, I can't fucking see this thing. And it depends on the restaurants that we worked at. Some of them we use white, some blue, some green.
But currently green.
Currently we're using green.
What about your all-purpose workhorse salt?
I mean, I feel like diamond salt is solid, right? Like just classic. Like I like it. I don't like it to be super fine. I think that's a little too much. But then I'm not gonna like use super crunchy, flaky sea salt all the time. Like sometimes I see fucking like Adam Byatt do it, right? And he's just like seasoning with just straight up sea salt. I'm like, that's fucking badass. I'm like, this guy, like he's got
like the super fine sea salt or
no,
like
like Malden, like just straight up like giant crystals. Like he's using it for everything. Like I'm like, oh, it's fucking badass. Like, this guy's got bread like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
what do you use for finishing?
Murray River.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about, do you have a general finishing acid that you use? Is it lemon? Is it vinegar? Is it type of vinegar?
I would say it's probably vinegars. Like we work with a company called Rare Tea Cellar.
What's the name of it?
Rare Tea Cellar.
Rare Tea?
Yeah. His name's Rod Marcus and just has incredible infused vinegars. Like literally anything that you could want, I'm telling you, like this guy, he's the guy. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what it is, right? But like for darker sauces and stuff like that, like sherries, right? Like that kind of thing. It depends on how you started the sauce as well, right? Like did you start it with a vinegar or was it a wine or whatever, right? Like, so trying to keep it adjacent like that. I wouldn't say that I have like a go-to, you know, it just depends on what the dish is.
Got it. And if you had something that you do in the kitchen that you think could make people's food better that a lot of people don't do, like, is there a certain technique or is there something that you always, when you meet new cooks, like, hey, let me save you a bunch of time. This will make your food or your life easier.
I don't know that it has so much to do around food as opposed to like cleanliness and organization, dude. You just got to be the kind of person that's so fucking bothered by anything not being square and like, you know, and I've always been that way. And
start twitching.
I do, man. I just need it to be tight. Like, you know, like the station just has to look a certain way. And my favorite part about working in some of these restaurants is that like at every hour, like you just stop and do a line scrub. Like it just looks good. Like I can't sweep the floors, dude. Like I don't like every time I drop something on the floor, I'm like, I have to pick it up right now. Like I don't want to wait 30 minutes later. So to me, like that's everything. Just be clean. Like and you know, this is a multitasking kind of job. Like in a way, like you have to do you have to keep at a lot of things, but like your stuff has to stay clean in the in between. Otherwise it gets way too crowded.
If you had a Mount Rushmore, 4 chefs that deserve to be on Mount Rushmore, who are the 4 chefs that to you should be out there?
That's like the hardest question of all time. I'm like, who are yours? Like it's
might change. Like I'll say one thing and then ask me next week and it's going to change.
Man, that's so tough. I mean, I feel like you have to give credit to people like Bocuse, right? Like Yeah. Okay. So like I'd go with that. I just don't want it to be all French chefs. So that's
So
tough.
it's your personal one.
No,
So.
I know. I'm like, chefs that I really like, probably over the last like 10 years, I think I've really liked, like Sean Brock just does amazing stuff as far as like the US. Places that I also really wanted to work at. Like those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about like David Kinch, like Men Racer. Like I was like, dude, I would have given an arm to have worked there. If I could do life over, like I probably would have gone to work there. And then maybe like Mauro Colagreco at Mirazur. Like that was just, again, another place that I would love to have worked at. And as I'm thinking about it, like they all have the same thing in common. Like they just put the ingredients first.
Yeah.
It's all about that, and all their food is generally fairly simplistic and none of it feels like the art got in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question, Chef. If you, in your kitchen, when you're running it, is it a herd or is it a yes chef or we chef?
I think we could just say herd. Like I like the yes chef thing. It doesn't have to be. I say it, but I don't think that it needs to be as serious. But again, like going back to my thing of like, I don't like to micromanage or anything like that. Like I think as long as we have a good understanding of what this is, like I don't need you to call me chef, but I do want you to understand like that this is what this job is. So,
well, awesome, brother. Where can people find you?
All over social media. Our Instagram is a great place that we're super active in all the time, or TikTok, Vendador Chicago, or Vendador.com if you want to just kind of see how this thing works in general. And then we do have like chef mentorships. Like if you guys just want to hit me up on Instagram, like I respond. I'm the one responding to all DMs and all the comments and stuff. So
yeah, I appreciate it. You giving people a peek behind the curtain of what you do.
Please. Yeah. I love to see it, man. It's, sometimes people are like asking questions that they know the answer to, but just want somebody to validate it. And I just wish that I could give more empowerment to those people and just be like, you just take a chance. Like life is risky. It's so risky that you're not getting out of here alive. So like, just fucking go for it. Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to support the show, you know what to do. Make sure you leave 5 stars, nothing less than 5 stars. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, comment, let me know what you think of this episode. Go to chefspsa.com where you get everything, the books, the merch. Go buy a book, go buy a t-shirt, go buy a hoodie, go buy this hat. Beautiful and nice. Go get it. If you want early access to episodes, subscribe to my Substack. I'm going to link them in the show notes. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
Yo, it's André in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction. Stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, class is in session.